Hey, chill. It's Tiggy. Turn it. Oh, yeah. I told y'all I was coming. Thought I was playing, huh? Hey, I said one day I be on, one day I be good. One day make it out the hood and hope I'm living good. I said one day I be on, one day I be good. One day make it out the hood and hope I'm living good. I said one day I be on, one day I be good. One day make it out the hood and hope I'm living good. I said one day I be on, one day I be good. One day make it out the hood. Now have you ever had a dream? You make it out the hood. Hey, chill. It's Tiggy. Turn it. Oh, yeah. I told y'all I was coming. Thought I was playing, huh? Hey, I said one day I be on, one day I be good. One day make it out the hood and hope I'm living good. I said one day I be on, one day I be good. One day make it out the hood and hope I'm living good.
Hi, my name is Erica Moseley, and this is the Homeless Diary, the social impact show. Homelessness is a topic that everyone seems to brush up under the rug. But if you don't have a rug to brush it up under, how will you be able to resolve your homeless situation? The Social Impact Show is designed for homeless individuals, homeless advocates, as well as the organizations that serve them. Now, don't get offended by none of the questions that I may ask the guest. And we are welcoming our lovely guest here, Eric Protein Moseley. Can I call you Eric?
No, you could call me Eric or Dad.
Okay.
Hey, Erica, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you so much for coming on the show. This is a really deep topic, and if you're talking about homelessness, you need to be raw. So at the beginning, I want to say, don't get offended by none of the questions that I ask you. May I ask you some of these questions?
Yes, you may.
Okay, so today we are actually talking about the 3 classes of homelessness. So, Mr. Eric, Dad, can you tell me your definition of homelessness?
Oh, wow. My definition of homelessness is there's different categories of homelessness and there's different classes of homelessness. There's 3 different classes of homelessness. There's upper, middle, and lower class. The upper class is individual where he or she wants to get back into the mainstream of society, like they take care of their hygienes and things of that nature, and want to get a job. And the lower class is someone who is walking around pushing a buggy, a shopping buggy, doesn't want to take care of the hygienes and not trying to make it back into the mainstream. The middle class is the one that's in between, doesn't know if he's going to fall back to the lower class or make it into the upper class.
So what I was going to ask here is, how did you become homeless?
Wow, how did I become homeless? That's a long story. Well, actually, it had a lot to do with I had a drug addiction in my earlier life. Raising you, I was traveling across the country and doing things that I wasn't supposed to do, and ended up picking up drugs, and and that ended up me becoming homeless.
Wow, that's very interesting. So, being at the fact that, because a lot of people think about when homelessness it's typically about drugs, right? Yeah. And in your situation, do you want to typically just blame the drugs, or do you feel that it was the drugs in other situations as well?
It was other situations, but everybody has a different reason why they become homelessness. You have like the single parent mothers, that's the fastest growing segment of homelessness due to domestic violence. And you have natural catastrophes like the people in the California area, period. They have the brush fires and the earthquakes and things of that nature, and people become homeless by way of nature.
Wow, so you want to say by aware of nature. So does that mean that eventually you become a master at homeless?
Oh, you can become a master. Yes, I consider myself as a master of survival. The same way that I would think that you are a master of survival. You know, the things that I have taken you through, traveling you all across the country, and having you in shelters and sleeping in different people's homes and stuff like that. You have learned how to survive on the highest level known to mankind, and you have mastered it.
Now, can you give an example of overcoming an obstacle while you were homeless?
Well, obstacle I overcame was that was getting clean off of drugs, and um, and then I started doing documentaries. So that's what happened. So I ended up getting myself clean, and then I ended up doing a documentary for. I did a first documentary down on Skid Row, and then that turned into another documentary that I did for PBS, which was called Down But Not Out. And so I would say, like, if you're out there homeless, what you should do is just keep striving with your goals, no matter what. Just keep going, even though you don't have a home.
Oh wow, yes, because yes, in my book, Trapped in the Homeless Hustle, that is exactly what I was talking about is being creative. Now, when you were being creative while you were homeless, how did that affect your mental health? Everyone wants to know about mental health and homeless. How did you overcome your mental health, and what did you do to cope as far as be
To
self-sufficient?
maintain, to maintain, I always had a dream, even though that I was using drugs and things of that nature. I always kept a dream. So I would say to anybody that's watching the show, or anybody that's an advocate to someone that's homeless, try to get them a craft. Try to bring them down here to SF Commons and make them get up in here and do a show or something like that. Or go out and make your own YouTube channel, or make a T-shirt or something. Get up on a poster board like you have done and stuff like that. Take your advantage of your disadvantages.
So, what I really love about you is because you teach me the each one teach one method. So, you basically taught me how to be self-sufficient. So, my question is, can you explain the three classification of homelessness?
The upper
Yeah, for someone that still does not know
I'll get it again.
about.
The upper class homeless is an individual where he or she takes care of their hygiene. They're trying to make it back into the mainstream of society. They probably live in a shelter or sleeping on a couch surfing and things of that nature. And the lower class is an individual that everybody stereotypes of homelessness on, which is someone that doesn't take care of the hygiene, that's out there using drugs, that's pushing a buggy, you want to invite into your home. The middle class is just the middle class. That's the individual who doesn't know if they're going to make it into becoming a first class homeless individual, or if they're going to fall into becoming the lower class. And, so they're kind of like trapped in the middle.
How does that look like in society as far as the classifications? Because I understand exactly, the classifications in, the real world. Technically, I'm middle class. If I fill out some type of documentations, how does that look like in the homeless?
Actually, the homeless don't really even realize that they're in a class, but there are different classes, different classifications, and so to explain it to a person that doesn't understand the classes of homelessness, that would be like if someone like you yourself, if you have never been homeless, and you would say, "Hey, I'm middle class," and a homeless person say, "Hey, that's not middle class. You just have you're just doing okay. It's just only one class." And no, that's not true. There's three different classes in the people who are not homeless, and there's three different classes in the people who are homeless now. However, like the lower, each one of those classes have a classification in homelessness. The lower, the middle, and the upper have classifications. Even the lower class have the upper, middle, and lower class in the lower class.
Wow.
Yeah, because you have to realize, like, okay, say if you take someone that's sleeping out on the streets, and that I said that's a lower class, they might want a job. They might are trying to get back with their family, their wives, their husbands, or whoever, things of that nature. So, but they're looking. Somebody sees them pushing a buggy. It's like, hey, look, you don't want anything out of life because you're a bum. You know what I'm saying? And it might not even be that situation.
So that is very interesting. So how do you identify yourself as far as a classification? Because, we're not telling each other in the community, hey, you're low class, homeless, hey, even if you go out for services, how do you identify yourself so that way the community know how to serve you better?
Well, I think the organizations first need to be able to identify with the classes first, because if they don't identify with it, then then the homeless people are not they're gonna just say, hey, we're homeless and we're homeless. So
Right.
what I would like to do, I would like to be able to go around the homeless organization and let them know, hey, you're dealing with three different classes of people, with three different types of issues, three different type of states of mind, and three different goals in life. So you can't treat like an upper class individual in the mainstream society. You don't treat them the same way you do a middle class, because they're not in the same classification.
Wow, that's wonderful. So how would that look like to someone from come to, lower class to become an upper class individual? How would that look like without any type of role model? How does that look like, and how can I become, self-sufficient?
Okay, you would need a role model. So a role model would be like what I'm trying to do, and what I'm trying to present to you is to become on board with me with the each one teach one will be a foundation where, in conjunction with major tech companies, major corporations, they could team up with us, and what we could do is give that upper class homeless individual a job with a major tech company. And so once that individual gets a job, then the middle class homeless will see that, the lower class individuals will see that, and they will want to strive to do better because they see this individual doing better. So that's what I would say. You have to get the attention of the upper class, give him a job with a tech, him or her place a job with a tech company, and go from there and let him be an influencer.
Now, would they start automatically from a tech company, or will they merge their way up? How would they get some type of outreach experience?
Okay,
Because
so
I noticed that, you have your book as well as you have documentaries, which is related to outreach. How will you incorporate your skills and teach someone outreach skills to become an outreach worker for a tech company?
Oh, okay. So let me first iterate on doing. They will be highly skilled in homeless outreach and in public safety. And so I would want them to be trained by you. Now, what we're going to do is start them off at the beginning with HOPS. They'll become a HOPS, HOPS. That's a homeless outreach public safety worker.
Wonderful. So it's very interesting. You will have to go to different levels in order to become an outreach worker. And due to the fact that you have numerous experience, 20 years of experience of outreach to the community, how will someone that's from the streets, living in a tent, literally sleeping under the bridge, become a hop for a tech company realistically?
Okay, so what would happen is, what we're trying to do is to bring the attention to the upper class homeless individual. And so we're looking for a major company, a major tech company, to take one individual and turn him into a homeless outreach public safety worker. Okay? And so once they do that, then there'll be a motivation for the middle and the lower class individuals. And then so now the lower and the middle class, they won't be able to just become HOPS automatically, because we want to protect the name of any tech company or any company that we have that's going to, sponsor that individual. So what they would do is they'll just become a homeless outreach first, and then they will move into HOPS. But the very first individual that we want them to hire will be a HOPS, a homeless outreach public safety. Now that individual will be trained in public safety and homeless outreach. And by you having the skills of homeless outreach, I would want them to be trained by you, and then we would, conjunction with another company here in San Francisco, have them train them in both of those fields as well.
Wow, that is definitely quite interesting. So my next question is, that's very interesting due to the fact that it's all about outreach as well as employment together. That's what it sounds like. Outreach, community service, as well as employment. Now, my next question is, how can they be self-sufficient with learning how to maintain their physical needs?
Okay, so by them becoming a homeless outreach, they're going to learn the skills of not just survival. They already know survival skills, but they're going to learn. They're going to sit down and be able to sit down again with you, or someone with another individual that's in San Francisco that's probably going to partnership with us, and they're going to learn those skills. They're going to learn how to become self-sufficient and to be able to teach others how to become self-sufficient, because it's each one teach one type of approach.
Oh, interesting. So, how long typically do you think someone from a lower class can get to an upper class?
Well, it depends on their mentality. It depends on how often they see that outreach individual coming around there and influencing them, like saying, hey, look, I work for Airbnb, I work for Facebook, I work for Twitter, I work for one of these major tech companies that's out here, and I'm getting a check, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not in the soup lines and stuff no more, and I'm dressing nice, and now, I'm trying to make it back into the mainstream of society, and other people see that and want to follow those footsteps. So to answer your question, it depends on that individual's frame of mind. But that individual is going to be always reaching out to them to better themselves. And so, and to make a good point about this, they're going to be dual trained, right? The hops are going to be dual trained. So they're going to be dealing with tourists and with the homeless. So when a tourist person sees a homeless person standing there, like maybe down on Powell Street or something, and they get scared, they'll see that hops and be like, well, wow, he has communication with both parties.
Now, this is very interesting, and I'm going to ask you a question again, and don't get offended by, any of the questions. Most people would say that, as a man, homelessness is only towards homeless men. How did you survive raising a daughter homeless? Because, when you went to the school, I know that you had problems enrolling me in and being homeless at the same time. What was your challenges, and how did you overcome the stereotypic of raising a child and being homeless?
Well, the statistics had said that you were going to be a straight failure by being raised by a man, number one, not just a homeless man, but just a man. They said you were going to be a failure. And to be raised homeless, they said you were going to be a double failure. So the stereotypical things are real harsh. Like, for instance, I would take you to the doctor or whatever, and they would take you in the back and ask you all kind of questions they wouldn't ask a female. And so it was really, really, really hard on me to really raise you, but I did it because I knew that you would be sitting here on television someday, having your book out and being up on billboards. I am so proud that what I have taken you through, that you were able to overcome and become the woman that you are today.
And I thank you so much for that. And the question that I have to ask, because right now I'm a case manager and an outreach worker, and typically, again, there isn't a lot of clients that come in raising a child, a man raising a child, right? So, and if it is a man that's raising a child, it's usually a man and boy. So I know how to maneuver through those situations. They can be able to go to the man's shelter. I know how to resolve those situations. But if I was to have the same situation as myself, I wouldn't know how to resolve the issue. But with me and you, how did you overcome those barriers as far as the shelters and the restroom and because as a child I didn't think about those challenges. I just thought about being homeless and why I didn't have this house or this car, etc. But I didn't think about the little small critiques that you had to deal with. So how did you deal with raising a child in a shelter that has all women, and how did you overcome those? And I don't even know how the questions to ask because it's hard to resolve the situation. So give me some feedback on that.
I really don't know. I just one day at a time, and just knowing that I'm a strong person, able to accept rejections, knowing that, one day it was going to be a brighter place. So, like I said, it all goes back to take advantage of your disadvantages. Maybe it's somebody that's out there looking right now that's in the same situation or worse situation and saying, like, wow, I'm never going to get up out of this. And they might look at our story and say, wow, that man could be on crack cocaine and raise a daughter, and and she's become a powerful vessel in the community and becoming a homeless advocate and a voice for the homeless. It's at first it was hard because after you had got grown, I was telling you had a calling on your life. I was saying, hey, look, you have a master's degree in homelessness. Take advantage of that. You were faced with an obstacle where you had a job offering from the city, and then you had a job offering where you're at now, and it was less money where you're working at now. I said, take that job and make the less money, because you're gonna be able to relate to people who can't get into a shelter at night. If you're at the Department of Social Services, not to knock those jobs or whatever, but if you were working there, you wouldn't feel the pain of, even though we did get food stamps or something like that, but you would be able to relate to somebody that's coming in there saying, hey, look, we don't know where we're going to sleep at tonight. We don't know what we're going to eat. So I'm so glad that you got into that field, because you have the compassion for that. So far as the question you asked me about how did I go about it, because I seen this day coming right here. I saw it coming, and I continue to work hard at doing what I did, which was trying to raise you.
So I guess the deep questions that I'm asking is basically, a woman's shelter. How did they allow you to come in a woman's shelter? Because typically, we have domestic violence shelter to where we scare the men, and, there's certain situations. What was your obstacles, and how did you overcome that? Because again, we need different perspectives and all.
Right, and not just the mothers
and not just the mothers and the fathers. What if there is, a situation that's like us? And I'm pretty sure that we're not the only ones that's out here, you the only one that's out here raising a child,
right,
as a girl dad, right?
Yeah.
But homeless. Not the Kobe situation. Rest in peace to Kobe. You got your purple and yellow on.
Yeah.
Girl dad.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Right.
So, yeah. So, what was your obstacles? I noticed that some of the times we had to sleep under the bridge, and I never asked you why we had to sleep under the bridge.
Okay, the reason why we had to sleep up under the bridge was because, that was when my addiction was over, so it was still like we were going through the homelessness, and if we went to a homeless shelter that was for men, they wouldn't let you in. And then if we went to some type of family shelter, they'd be like, well, no, it's only for mothers and children, and the men were left out. So we had to sleep under the bridge, and I would have to tie a belt around my arm and tie it around your arm, so in case somebody would come and lift you up while we were sleeping, I would know that person was taking you. So those were some of the options. And then there was a situation when we first got to Miami and we were homeless, and this guy was trying to panhandle us. No, let me tell you that situation. When we first got to Miami, we were homeless, and the people, even the crackheads and stuff, were out on the street. They all hovered around us and said, we're going to protect you and take care of this little girl. And so it was a guy named Angel, and he came up to us. Yeah, and he said, my name is Angel, and he said, I'm going to walk with you all night tonight. And he said, because I sleep in a park, he said, but you can't go there because you have a child. And it was Sentinel Park in Miami. And so he watched over us that whole night. When we woke up that morning, I was looking for this guy named Angel, and nobody knew who he was, and nobody had seen him or heard of him. So it was a real angel that had watched out for us. And so, some of the obstacles that people seen us and would be like feeling sorry for us and be like, would do more for us. Even when we were in Miami, it was this guy, he was panhandling for some money. And I said, man, I'm out here on the streets with a little girl, and he gave me $1. And so I said, I panhandle. Yeah. That was my best skill. I panhandled a panhandler.
Yeah. Oh, man. So my next question is that these are really, really great questions, Dad. So why did you do that? It would have been easier because, listen, the society thinks that, when you look at a homeless individual, it's typically men walking around. right?
Yeah.
Homeless. And if you was to ask a homeless individual man, he would say that he know what to do. It's a little bit easier, vice
Right.
versa, having
Oh.
kids around.
Right.
He can
Yeah.
go to the
No.
shelter,
No.
eat, and this and that. Why did you do it, and why did you go through all these obstacles when you could have just not threw me away, but you could have put me in a foster care or
Well,
whatever.
I knew that I had to do. That was my duty. That was my duty to raise you as a father, even though I was on drugs or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, being homelessness, it was kind of, it was a college course. So it was kind of like an advantage because look at us now. We're all on television. We have been on 2 national television shows. You have a book out. I have a book out. People in the San Francisco area and in Los Angeles are becoming to recognize us. You're all on billboards and stuff. This is not a show to glorify you or anything like that, to glorify me. But I just want to let you know that I'm proud of you because it took a long time for me to tell you to get in, to influence you to do this. This is your calling to do it. And you used to be so mad at me and call me and tell me, Dad, all you did was drug me all up and around the country and stuff. But now you're an advocate. You're a social worker. You're a homeless outreach. You have your own show. You have your own bug. You speak for tech companies and things of that nature. So if I had to do all that all the way over again, I would do the exact same thing, not on purpose, but if I had to go through it, I would be like, hey, look, we're going to shine out of this, and not shine for our purpose, but to be that light for the community, for somebody that's suffering, and that's what we're going to do all around the world.
Yes, and I'm glad that you really did mention that because in reality, no, I wanted to get out of my homeless situation. I wanted to be a productive citizen and just get out of the homeless field. You know what I mean? It was just overwhelming. It was just barbarian, and I didn't think that was my calling. Who is homeless for 20 years of their life. This is not something normal. So I'm like, as soon as I can get rid of that, like I am not going back. But as I keep growing and becoming master in homelessness and just listening to you and brainstorming and then now working as a case manager and outreach worker and then trying to resolve problems, this is the cause. And I want to ask you again, to reiterate, what is a each one teach one method? As far as how did you teach me, and how can I continue to help with the community? Please break that down.
Well, each one teach one. I would like to have you involved in with the hops where they would, they would relate to you as far as what I was saying, the teaching and stuff like that. But I have a bigger calling for you as well. One of these tech companies out here should hire you as an each one teach one from business to business. And the reason why I say that they need each one teach one from business to business is because the businesses from San Francisco need to call other businesses in other states and let them know, like, hey, look, you guys need to take an each one teach one approach, even if you don't want to adapt to ours. Because here's the simple reason. Because if San Francisco is the only one that lifts up the homeless and the tech companies are building houses and giving them all type of jobs and all that, then the people from all across the country are going to want to come here to San Francisco. They're going to be like, wow, I'm leaving Omaha, Nebraska.
And they're doing that now.
Yeah, but they're doing that now. So with the each one teach one, I could see you as an each one teach one representative where you're sitting somewhere at Uber or somewhere, some technical company, and you're calling other companies in other states. Airbnb is located in Seattle, Portland, Los Angeles, here in San Francisco, New York, and Miami. We were homeless in each one of those cities. So I could see you on the phone right now contacting representatives in those cities and states and letting them know, like, hey, look, we want to come in and teach you to each one. Teach one where you guys need to start hiring, just one homeless individual. So that's what I'm saying. I could see you doing something like that.
And I want to say yes. And I am so grateful for these tech companies because they are helping with the homeless community. But the thing is, they're not reaching to the homeless community. Why? It's because the homeless language And is it their fault? No, it's because you're not equipped to the homeless language, right? So with that being said, is if you want to bridge the gap with your programs like the tech companies, or if you want to bridge the gap in the community so that the homeless can be self-productive, then you need to have someone that is a representation.
Exactly. Yes, you need a mediator, someone such as yourself. I'm not trying to push this just because you're my daughter, but you're skilled in both of those categories. So someone who knows about homelessness, knows about tech, knows about outreach, you would be the perfect person for that job because you could reach out to both. And that's the thing with the tech. All they're doing is just tech to tech. Tech to tech, tech to tech. They're using all that high-tech language and stuff like that. And they're not letting anybody in because if you don't know technicality and know the things that they're doing, then you're just lost. So they need a mediator such as yourself sitting in an office. Even if they don't want you to come to the office, you can be like, hey, look, I can do this from home. I can call the Portland office. I could teach them the each one teach one. I could call the Miami office. I could let them know. And then I can also reach out to homeless organizations in those communities and tell them, hey, look, we found out about this each one teach one approach. Why don't you guys do it? You already are located with the tech companies in San Francisco, so we have to branch out. This thing that we're trying to start is not just local. We want to take this nationally and internationally as well.
Wow, so that's great. So what that basically means that they don't have to be at the tech companies.
No. The hops do not never have to come to the company. So if they want, say if they took it right now and said, hey, look, we're going to hire a hop. We're going to take it. We're going to take advantage of what you're saying. So what would we need to do is you just screen the guy, you give him like a Skype interview, and then you yourself, you would have to approve of the guy because he's going to be vetted by you. And then after that, he goes right down on Powell Street. So you as a company, you just imagine yourself, you brandishing, this guy is down on Powell Street, right? And he's brandishing the name of your company. And then not only that, he's having the hops on there, the homeless outreach, public safety. So when people come, this is not an advertisement pitch. This is just really something that these companies need to do. But what they're getting out of this is going to be an advertisement as well. So somebody comes from another city and they see Uber or whatever on the back of a shirt, and they saying like, oh wow, this guy has 2 titles right there. Not only is it a great marketing strategy, but you are doing something else for the community as well.
From the face. From the ground up.
From the ground up. You have taken the highest class homeless individual and you have employed him. So here's the question right here. This is the question right here. Maybe because what I was going to do was we would take the hop, right? Take an individual who we've been watching for a long time, right? And we bring them in and we sit down with the tech company and they hire him. But here's the problem right here. So a company like Airbnb, we want them to pay that person like $16 an hour for 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. That would come up to be something like $200 and some dollars. Where in the world are they going to get $240 a week from to have all of this?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, come on. That's the only thing. They can't come on $240 and they're going to have the name of their company brandished on the back of the shirt.
For outreach and working for the community and the tourists too as well.
And for the tourists. But where in the world? Airbnb is located in 81,000 cities and 191 countries around the world. So where in the world are you going to get $240 a week? That's way out of their range, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know because $240
a week, right?
A week. Woo.
No, but you know what? I think they could probably do it.
Yeah.
They probably
seriously, these organizations, and that's why I want to really brag about them. They are really helping.
That was just a joke, y'all.
Yes. Because they are really helping with the community, right? Yeah. I want to brag to you about what San Francisco is doing. Right now, San Francisco has this new organization, what this new method is called the San Francisco Data Coordinated Entry. So instead of the families just going to different locations and getting assessed and trying to ask for services, now they will go to one of our access points, right? And one of the access points is where I work at, right? And we will just ask you a series of questions to be able to problem solve your situation. Have you heard of any type of method like this in any other state?
I have heard of something similar like that. And matter of fact, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was through Catholic Charities. Now I don't know if they're doing that just to keep data on a person or whatever, but I think that would be good because we want to go back to the HOPS. But once we get the HOPS, the homeless outreach person, then he or she can learn that in a one-stop shop and learn all of the resources that's available here in San Francisco. You might have somebody that's come here and become a tourist and end up becoming homeless, and they might need both of those services there. So, and that's another thing I want to touch bases on. Anybody that's watching the show, you can become homeless. Homelessness is not a disease. It is a condition, and it can happen to you and your family as well.
Yes. So, yeah, because that typically happens. And it goes back to what you said before that, Erica, this is a calling, this is a calling, and this is what you're supposed to do. But, and I was going to be like, some of these celebrities that's, typically out here, like, people didn't know that Halle Berry was homeless, and, Tiffany Haddish, people didn't know that Steve Harvey, and the list goes on. So, not in the sense that I was going to, be like them, but I was going to help from the back and not even talk about the homelessness, right? But it goes back to what you're saying. Anybody can be homeless, you know what I mean? And in my situation, I went to college. I finished everything, but due to the fact that I didn't have a foundation because we were moving all over the place, when I got older, I became homeless again, right? So I always thought that after I got out of college and after I finished all of this homeless stuff, that I wasn't going to be homeless again, being that, I got all these degrees and I got all this stuff. But it happened to me as well, and basically the homeless cycle. So with that being said, I'm saying is it can happen again, and it can happen to anyone. So right now I'm working with organizations that has volunteers that work in the community that wants to serve homeless individuals or people that, overcome homelessness. How can you, what can you say to an individual that wants to volunteer and wants to continue giving a huge impact without getting burned out, without saying that this is overwhelming, and continue to be, sufficient in helping us?
Okay, well, actually, this show right here is going to be a very powerful show in San Francisco, and who knows how far it might go. So, I mean, we are looking for sponsors for this show to continue on with our message. I think what people can do in the community, besides giving, we're not just up here trying to promote Give to Us. Find something of your niche that you can do in homeless, even if it's to go out, and some people go out and pass out water. Some people go out and do volunteer at soup kitchens and stuff like that. Find your niche in the homeless community and find out what you can do and do what suits you best.
And that's where the problem is, and that's where people become overwhelmed. It's because not that I don't want to do it and not that I don't have the money to do so, but I just don't have the time to do so, and I don't have the connections to do so, and I might be scared, you know what I mean? I want to give out water and I want to give out money and stuff like that, but I don't know where this person mindset is at the same time. So I'm glad that we have started up this program to be able to help and bridge the community, so that way that they can be able to relax as well and feel comfortable that, we are actually working on your behalf to help serve the community. Because in realistic, people have we all have our own causes and our own agenda to do in our own calling in life.
Yeah, right.
So, for example, I work with the tech companies, and their main agenda is not to serve the homeless community, right? So it's not fair for, for the community to say, you need to serve the homeless community. And it's like, I went to school to be a software engineer. not a community developer. So I'm glad that, there's programs like Each One Teach One, and that you have a documentary, and that, my book, Trapped in the Homeless Hustle, is basically like a whole organization that we're building so people can be able to relax and people can know that we actually working together. How do you feel about people getting burned out by helping the homeless individuals?
Well, if you get burnt out, that means that it's going to keep, populating. I mean, if you look back 10 years ago, you probably seen one guy standing on a corner with a sign, and now you see two guys, and in the next couple of years, you're going to see three and four and five. So the problem has to be dealt with. I mean, as far as what the people can do is, that's really hard. It's a really hard situation. So again, it's like, donate money to certain charities if you don't want to do that, or to get on board with us with this program. That's the thing that's going to be the hottest thing. I predict right now that the Each One Teach One program is going to be the hottest thing in San Francisco because it's coming from a father-daughter type of situation. Now, for you, I have a question for you. Is you growing up as a child, what was it like growing up under a drug-addicted father? Because we never talked about that, a drug-addicted father, and traveling you, as soon as you got to one school, I was taking you out of that school, and, just tell me about that. How did you feel?
Honestly, it was first of all, I was happy that I had a father that was raising me, but then I also had obstacles for having a father that was raising me. So, the children didn't understand me because their fathers wasn't, picking them up, and their mothers was picking them up. So it always would be animosity, between the kids, when realistically, I was still wanting my mom as well. So we had those two different burials. So with that, it was kind of challenging with that. As far as going to school, it was hard because you didn't understand as far as how to deal with women, breaking up with, the boyfriend or periods or you didn't understand that I was missing my mom in a sensitive way. You understood that I was missing her, but you didn't understand because that's how all men are. They don't understand our sensitive side. But as far as with the homelessness, it was really hard because back then homelessness was they considered it as a disease. That's how they were acting. Kids would have teased me. People knew that I wasn't normal due to the fact that I just came out of nowhere. You know what I mean? So I want people to understand that it was a hard time, and it was a challenging time, and it was an embarrassing time. And right now I'm still scared to talk about homelessness. It's because I was always embarrassed and teased about being homeless. So I have to overcome my obstacles so I can be able to help someone out here. Because like you said, before it was one person doing the signs, and now it's everybody. And now I can't run away from it. You know what I mean? Right. And say, oh, now that I'm self-sufficient, then I made it. But maybe if everybody else made it too. Yeah, but now that I made it, everybody, it's a big problem. So it's like I really can't get away from it. So it's embarrassing. Like I said before, my daughter, we became homeless again, and someone saw her, came out the shelter, and someone said to her, the little boy said, "I saw you at the shelter," and she said, I was volunteering. And how you volunteering at 8 years old? Like, you know what I'm saying? So if the kid going around and teasing people for being in a shelter, that means that we're not even educated at all.
Right. So for a mother and a child that's in a homeless shelter that's watching this right now, or maybe there's a mother or a father that's watching it that knows someone that's homeless, that has a homeless child. I'm talking about the child right now. What would you say to that child that's going to school that has to wear the same clothes over that's got to be, getting free lunch, and the people, sneaking out the back to get to the shelter and all that kind of stuff, and not letting people know where they live. What would you say, not even to the mother, but the child, or either the mother of that child, where they could go tell that child, say, hey, look at this girl right here, Erica. What would you say?
I would say that number one, you don't know that you're going to be a leader. You're able to bend. You're able to be able to communicate. Eventually, whenever you get older and self-sufficient, don't look at what's going on right now, because homelessness is temporary. It's not permanent. So if you look at it as temporary, then you're going to be self-sufficient. So continue to go to school, to continue to ignore everyone. And that's going to be hard to tell a kid, because you're going to automatically get bullied for something. So you're going to get bullied for having bad clothes, and you're going to get bullied for not having a house. So these are the things that we need to teach these kids. You're going to get bullied 2 times,
Or even
right?
more.
Or even more. You're right. So what you need to do is, like I tell my child, is find a hobby. These kids need to find something right now, because what happened is you're wondering why these kids are traumatized and not listening to their parents and stuff. At 5 years old, imagine a kid going into a shelter and leaving back and forth every day and don't have no real stability, can be able to play outside, and their mom and dad is kind of like, their mom and dad is all over the place. You see what I'm saying? From dealing with these case managers, from housing and this and that. The kid is traumatized. The kid cannot stand still. The kid cannot think. Right? So a lot of times you see the kids being a parent to the adults, because the adults can't think. So you need to start teaching these kids, so that way they can know how to be self-sufficient, or they're going to be homeless again.
Right.
Because their parents can't teach them how to be self-sufficient.
So let me ask you this. Do you think like some of the parents have like some issues that they're dealing with, like maybe some drug addiction, or maybe they went through domestic violence, or struggle with poverty or something of that nature, that, is making them act like the child, and the child is having, well, by them being homeless, you have to understand that, because that goes back to my perspective, they're going through a lot of stuff too, because, wow, I got this kid, but even though that they're not experiencing the school, because I didn't know what it was like to be going to school homeless, so they don't really understand the kids part, and the kids part don't understand the adults part. So maybe that could be something where we could sit down and talk to.
And that's what I do right now. I speak with students, because that's a big topic. These students are homeless right now.
Wow.
So, for example, I would send my child to school, and then all of a sudden she's homeless. At least now she would know how to survive, and she could probably teach the people at the school how to survive. This is what you do, and this is what you don't do. But what should have happened is, at the schools, we need to teach these kids how to be self-sufficient. At these shelters, find something creative for them. What do you like? You like arts and crafts?
Yeah,
You like
sewing,
that? Start doing stuff
knitting.
right now.
Yeah, let's start doing it, because I'm glad you said that, because the question you asked me, what kept me going, even though that I was on drugs and stuff like that, I would be singing, I would be writing, I go to the internet and go get on the computer, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So that it's God. I give all the glory to God. I have to say that first. But He instilled in me to be able to still have that craft. So that's the what you would tell a kid is to still look at your dreams, even though that
We're going to identify your dreams. That's what I do as a case manager. No one asks the clients like, what do you want to do? It's always, okay, here's the shelter, here's the here's the housing, where to go, here's the food, where to go. But I'm like, okay, what do you want to do? And they like, I want to do anything. No, what do you want to do? Like, because there's so many things. There's apprenticeships, there's construction. Like, what do you want to do before you had your kids? Oh, I wanted to be a software developer. Well, did you know
that the software developer is here?
like, I was homeless and I was a software developer and I went to this company, and they like, really? I didn't know that. Yes. So again, let's go back to what you want to do, because getting this shelter and getting this food is not going to help you like be self-sufficient. And on that note, this was a wonderful time speaking with you and just getting different perspectives. And I'm so excited to continue to working with you and And on that note, Dad, this is amazing and awesome. Just getting different perspectives from each other and learning each other, like literally right here at this table. It's kind of like what I picture the red talk table, Jada, but it's not red yet. On that note, because what we're going to do, this is not the end. We're going to continue to do tours around San Francisco, around the world to bridge the gap in the homeless perspective, Dad, girl.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in today at the Homeless Diary, the Social Impact Show. I had my wonderful guest, Eric Protein Moseley, considered as my father, and we learned a whole bunch of great detail about the 3 classifications of homelessness, and I can't wait for you guys to tune in next week to learn about more homeless situations. It's your girl, Erica, the Homeless Diary. Sip your tea.